Welcome back, everyone. We've covered a lot of ground today, and really, we've covered a lot of ground over these past 6 weeks. But I don't want us to finish tonight simply remembering a bunch of sermons because information was never the goal. Transformation is. So here's the question I want us to finish with. What do we do now? Because you can't change yesterday. You may not be able to instantly end the battle inside of you, and you certainly can't force God to answer a prayer according to your timetable. So what can you do? I think these last 3 weeks give us three simple movements. First, release what's behind you. Second, keep fighting what's within you. Third, trust God with what's ahead of you. So first, release what's behind you. Paul says in Philippians 3, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead, I press on. Paul isn't saying he developed amnesia. He's not pretending the past never happened. He's saying, I'm not going to live there anymore. There's a difference between remembering yesterday and living in yesterday. You can learn from your past without allowing your past to become your address. Maybe there are things you wish you could change. You can't. But God can still redeem what you cannot rewrite. So release yesterday. Then keep fighting today. Romans 7 reaches this moment where Paul finally cries out, what a wretched man I am. Who will rescue me? Notice that question. It's not what technique will rescue me, how much harder do I need to try, or what book do I need to read. Paul asks, who? And then answers, thanks be to God who delivers through Jesus Christ our Lord. That's walking with Jesus. It's not simply try harder, but it's actually trust deeper. Depend on Christ. Depend upon Him. Bring the battle to Him. Ask Him for help. Let other people walk with you. Get back up when you fall. Keep going. Because struggling doesn't mean you've been defeated. And then finally, trust God with tomorrow. David begins Psalms 13 saying, how long? But by the end of it, he's saying, but I trust. He doesn't receive an explanation. He makes a declaration. And maybe that's when faith is at its strongest. Not, God, I understand what you're doing, but God, I trust who you are when I don't understand what you're doing. Remember the picture we talked about last week? The picture where you plant a seed and then you wait above the ground, nothing. So you wait another day and go out and nothing. And you go another day and still nothing. And if you're impatient, you might be tempted to dig it up just to make sure something's happening. But if you keep digging up the seed, it never gets the opportunity to grow. Because before anything grows up, something has to grow down. It's roots before fruit, hidden work before visible growth. And maybe that's exactly where somebody is tonight. Maybe God is doing something underground in your past, redeeming something you thought was wasted. Maybe He's doing something underground in your struggle, developing perseverance, dependence, wisdom, maybe maturity. Maybe He's doing something underground while you wait, preparing something you just simply can't see yet. So here's what I want to tell you. Don't dig up the seed because you haven't seen the plant. Don't go back because moving forward is difficult. Don't surrender because you're struggling. And don't assume God isn't working because you're waiting. Over these 6 weeks, we've talked about a mountain, a giant, chains, a lie, a battle, and a season of waiting. And you know what? Tonight, maybe your mountain hasn't moved yet. And maybe your giant still shouts occasionally. Maybe you're still learning to replace the lie with truth. And maybe yesterday still hurts. Maybe that battle inside you isn't over yet. Maybe you're still praying, how long, Lord? But none of those things mean God has stopped working. The mountain is not evidence He abandoned you. Fear does not get the final word. The lie does not define you. Your past doesn't own you. Your struggle doesn't disqualify you. And God's silence doesn't mean He's absent. So maybe tonight, you don't need to figure out the rest of your life. Maybe you just need to take the next faithful step. Release yesterday. Keep fighting today. Trust God with tomorrow. Because sometimes God is doing his deepest work underground before we see anything above ground. And you know what? Remember, your story isn't finished yet. I will see you next week. Have a good evening.